Tag has been a great partner for WatchGuard too, and we're happy to work with you and continue to advance our products and work with your customers over the coming years. So today's, today's agenda, we're going to cover the impact of COVID-19 and remote work and how that's impacting security today. I'm going to follow that with some recent news from WatchGuard, our Internet Security Report, and we just published Q1 2020. There's some interesting stats to share from that that are very relevant and applied to the new products I'm going to talk about. WatchGuard in early June introduced a new line of Firebox tabletop products, so we'll dive into some of the detail on some of those. So let's begin with, and everyone's world kind of turned upside down in March. Change happened suddenly. It varied all across the country, but we saw shutdowns everywhere. People were suddenly moving to remote work. People who were tied to a desktop in the office and never worked remotely suddenly had to get laptops, work from a home office, improvise a home office. And it led to a lot of security concerns to enable remote work where it never accessed before. People were providing wide open access to corporate resources. When you're in the home environment, you don't have the same level of security defenses or endpoint defense you have in your home network that you have in the corporate or office. And any major event leads to malicious actors, hackers exploiting that. They take advantage of the news. People are stressed out. They're maybe not paying as much attention to things. It's an opportunity for hackers. And we even saw that with COVID. An example I like to point to, right in the middle of March when we were at the height of the crisis, the Department of Health and Human Services, the government department, was attacked by hackers back around March 18th. RiskIQ is a firm that did a great job of tracking the impact of spam and hacking in COVID. And on March 31st, they found over 9,000 unique email domains, not emails, actual domains that had been registered with the word COVID in the domain somewhere as part of a phishing campaign. They found over 1,600 emails with Windows executables based around COVID spam, trying to trick people into false information about testing issues around COVID. Our own Threat Labs team, through our Secplicity site, did some research around this too. And Trevor Collins, one of our analysts, did a great article on learning how to spot fake stimulus check scams. So a lot of misinformation, a lot of confusion was going around at the time about how to get your stimulus check. Great advantage for hackers. They were putting out emails, phishing emails, scams on trying to get people to get their stimulus checks early. So every time there's a major issue, a major crisis, we always see hackers exploiting that and trying to use that to their advantage. So some of the best practices we promoted at WatchGuard are things that we would encourage when people are in the office, but emphasize it again, even when people are at home. Be smart. Avoid risky clicks and phishing attempts. You have to be especially vigilant at home. You can't have someone just stick their head over a cubicle wall and ask, did that email really come from you? I need to verify that request from my boss for a wire transfer. So encourage anyone working at home to be especially vigilant and careful. I also like to tell people to segregate their work computers from their home computers at home. You don't want your kids are working at home at school, have them plugging a USB stick into the work computer because they need to print something out. Really make an effort to keep your computer networks for home and work separated. This could be different SSIDs for families, for students, and the work SSID. even when people are working at home, it's important to make backups. Ransomware has actually increased since all of the COVID and remote work has happened. A lot of people might have seen Garmin has been hacked by ransomware, and their sites have been down for close to a week because of ransomware. And you need to be vigilant and have defenses in place. And one of the best things to do is make sure there are good backups in place so that you can recover if a system gets hit by ransomware. There's some good practices that don't really apply to WatchGuard products, but if you've got a default Cisco or a Netgear router at home, make sure you've changed the default password on that router. Simple means of attack for hackers is look for default passwords that are well known and published on the internet. And of course, have some kind of endpoint protection on systems in the home environment. When people take laptops home, make sure they have some kind of endpoint protection. Phishing protection, DNS filtering is important. We'll talk more about that later. And of course, we encourage people to use VPNs for remote access. And WatchGuard has a number of different VPN solutions we can talk about. So one of the biggest risks for people working at home is poor password habits. And all it takes for a hacker to gain entry to any network is one of the following things: just a user with a very weak or default short password. If they get compromised and have a keylogger or a Mimikatz Trojan on their system, that can cause a compromise where they lose and credentials are stolen. And of course, you never ever want people to share their passwords or give it out to anyone. Poor passwords are an easy way in for people to gain access into a network. And the one real protection against that we encourage everyone to use is multi-factor authentication. Of course, WatchGuard's product for that, like Tim mentioned at the start, is AuthPoint, our strong authentication, multi-factor authentication product. And the advantage of this is even if a password is compromised, stolen, it's not enough. You need more than that one factor to get into a system. AuthPoint provides a very simple to use app on a mobile phone where people verify their identity, just a simple one-touch approval, and all of your applications are protected. It provides a great advantage too, is you can have a single sign-on portal where all of the applications that someone needs to access remotely are available in one place. People like Bill and Elaine and I from WatchGuard use it so often as part of our daily access into the WatchGuard systems. And it really gives you confidence that everything has been secured well. So highly encourage people to get multi-factor authentication set up in place. And we've seen a huge, huge increase in interest in this solution since March, since all of the remote work started. And in fact, WatchGuard ran a 120-day promotion, or a promotion for a 120-day free trials for AuthPoint. That promotion is still running, but it actually expires at the end of this month. So if you want to get anyone in on that, there's just a couple of days left for that. But AuthPoint's definitely a key part of defenses in a remote work environment. We also saw a huge increase in the amount of WatchGuard users taking advantage of VPN solutions. And in fact, back starting around early to mid-March, we saw a huge spike in our customer support calls around VPN access. So we put together a lot of new resources. VPN capabilities have long been one of the strengths of the WatchGuard products. And we have many different options available for what we call mobile VPN, which traditionally really only applied to maybe administrators, the road warriors that were out on the road all of the time. But now we see everyone was working from home and there was a lot more demand for VPN solutions. So we put together this new web page that compared the different mobile VPN solutions we have. The link is available on the screen there. By default, we would recommend Ike v2 as the latest, the most secure with the strongest crypto levels for users working from home using VPN. An advantage of Ike v2 is it uses the native clients that are in all of the operating systems. So iOS, Windows, even the mobile operating systems have Ike v2 clients available. There's no separate client to purchase. One of the advantages of the WatchGuard systems is that we provide full support for the VPN clients with the default appliance. There's no need to purchase additional VPN licenses. Mobile VPN with SSL may be an option for people who are concerned about the IPsec ports that are required for Ike v2. So that's an option that's included with all WatchGuard solutions as well. And we have a premium IPsec VPN client that's available from NCP technology. We OEM that. And it provides a few different capabilities, a built-in firewall, some seamless 4G roaming and things like that. But there's a handy reference chart available at this link now for those of you that are looking at more VPN solutions. Protection against phishing, protection against malicious domains is so important now, and that's why we encourage people to have some kind of DNS filtering solution on the endpoints for people who are working remotely. WatchGuard has the DNS Watch service that's available with all of our firewalls. It provides DNS level detection and filtering, preventing connections to the bad guys. It protects end users from phishing attacks and from command and control connections coming from their endpoint. Also provides URL content filtering. No VPN is required if this is in place. So let's take a look. I know my colleague Mark LaLiberte is going to do a webinar for TAG members sometime next month too. And Mark is from our threat analyst team, and he'll dive a lot deeper into a lot of the information here. But since this is new and very relevant, I wanted to share some of the details today, and it really applies to some of the new products we're going to look at too. So every quarter, WatchGuard has what we call a Firebox feed, and these are appliances around the world where our customers have opted in to send aggregate data back to WatchGuard so we can include it in our trending and analysis and these reports we published. We can see that in Q1, we blocked over 21 million pieces of malware with WatchGuard appliances across those appliances that were participating in the Firebox feed. So that's not all WatchGuard appliances. That's just those ones that have agreed to participate in this survey. APT Blocker, our cloud-based sandboxing solution, blocked over 8 million additional threats. One I really like to highlight because it's a newer service for us is Intelligent AV. This is the artificial intelligence-based second scanning engine, incorporates OEM technology from Cylance. That recorded close to 1 million malware hits in Q1 alone. That's really significant because up to now, that service has only been available on our rack mount appliances, and it's still relatively new. But a couple of the key statistics we look at in every report is what percentage of malware was 0-day. And by 0-day, our definition here is malware that wasn't detected with traditional signature techniques. This is malware that required APT Blocker, it required sending to the cloud sandbox for detection. And we found in Q1 that 64% of the malware we stopped on those appliances that had APT Blocker was stopped with APT Blocker. So scary thought that the hackers have learned to morph their malware so much that it takes these more advanced techniques to block that. And for the first time in our Q1 report, we included a new statistic, and that's the percentage of malware that was arriving over a web connection with encrypted TLS. So HTTPS, or transport layer security, is when the web connections are encrypted. It's so commonly used these days. Something like 80% of websites use HTTPS encryption. And now hackers are using it too, because it's easier to evade defenses if people are bypassing inspection of encrypted traffic. Some appliances like Meraki, for example, don't even have the ability to decrypt and inspect this type of traffic. In Q1, we found that 2/3 of the malware on these appliances that were using HTTPS decryption was coming across TLS connections. And that's a revealing thought. Every quarter in the security report, we publish a top 10 of malware that we find. Mark will go into that in more detail in his webinar, but a couple of things I wanted to highlight. One of the big new ones was this Trojan called Krixos, which was essentially delivered via a phishing attempt. It was an email attachment in a HTML file disguised as an invoice. So the typical kind of social engineering attack here is someone gets an email masked as coming from their boss. Maybe the CFO sends an email saying, please wire transfer this amount to this account, this type of things, or here's an invoice, please take a look at this. You click through and the user is prompted to enter credentials to view the document. These credentials are then sent to an attacker-controlled server. And all of these attacks tend to start with stolen credentials. So wanted to highlight this one again because it's more emphasis on the need to have some kind of multi-factor authentication, that additional layer of strong authentication security. In our Q1 report, we also track the malicious domains that are detected via our DNS watch service. And we split that into 3 different pillars: domains that host malware, domains that, websites that have been compromised where some code has been injected in HTML perhaps, and then domains that are used in phishing attacks. And in Q1 alone, we saw over close to 9 million domains detected from those 45,000 WatchGuard appliances. It shows how effective this solution is. What I love about DNS Watch is it's just so easy to turn on. You're simply enabling DNS forwarding on the appliance, so it forwards to our resolvers where we apply all of this great security. So the WatchGuard threat team finished their report with 3 defensive tips from the Firebox feed. TLS inspection is a necessity. If you haven't been using that before, look to enable the TLS inspection, decrypt that HTTPS traffic, and look for malware. Use a layered defense. No one technique is the best way to stop all attacks, and it's something we've been preaching at WatchGuard for a long time. We don't just have one security service on the appliance. We have a number of different security services, and it's all of those layers working together. If a Trojan somehow gets through, we have our botnet service. We have our DNS watch service that will protect and detect communication to command and control channels and malicious sites. So use a layered defense. Part of those layers are the 3rd tip here, to have detection of command and control traffic. And it's not just WatchGuard that's saying it. Here's a couple of recent articles from the security press talking about the prevalence of malware in SSL and encrypted traffic. And I won't go through these in detail here, but Tim will be happy to share a copy of these slides. I can send them to you after the webinar. A couple of interesting links where people can follow up and read on this. So a lot of things happening in our environment. I know everyone has had to rush to get their customers set up for remote working. There's a lot of scary stuff going on in terms of hackers, the amount of malware that's out there. And along with all that, so WatchGuard's helping you by introducing new WatchGuard tabletop products. And that's something I want to go through and cover here today because it's an important new announcement from us. And for companies that are servicing the small and mid-sized business, these tabletop products represent over half of WatchGuard's revenue and definitely the biggest volume by far of the products we make available. So the strength of the WatchGuard tabletop UTM today, there's a number of different factors we talk about. Rapid deploy is a great service where you can configure, build your configuration in advance, and then when the appliance goes out to the site, plug it into power, connect it to internet, and it will get its configuration downloaded. Very useful in COVID times where you don't want to send technicians out on site or into an office. You can ship an appliance to them via UPS. They can plug it in, connect it themselves. PoE Plus is something we include in our appliances, and that's a great way to pair up with peripheral devices. The PoE Plus from the WatchGuard tabletops can be used to power our access points. Visibility in WatchGuard Cloud. All of our tabletop solutions can send their logs to WatchGuard Cloud. You don't have to worry about setting up servers on-site, on-premise, or even at your office. Automatically send that stuff to WatchGuard Cloud. If you want to include integrated wireless, we have Wi-Fi options available for our tabletop models. SD-WAN is an area we've added features in over the past couple of years. We can now, multi-WAN was always a strong feature set for us, and we've expanded that, not just looking at whether a line is up or down, but we look at jitter, packet loss, latency. We can make failover decisions even if a line is just poor quality for a time. Helps people cut down on expensive MPLS products. And total security. Layered security is an important part of our defenses, and our total security package includes over 10 different security services. I'm happy to announce that on these new tabletop appliances, we've added a couple of services that were not available previously, that they required the horsepower of the rack mount appliances to run. The Access Portal, which provides secure remote access via clientless VPN into internal resources, RDP, SSH, and things like that, now available on the tabletops. And Intelligent AV. I showed how in Q1 alone, we stopped close to 1 million malicious files using the Intelligent AV service. That was only on rack mount appliances. This service is now available on our tabletops. So let's take a look at the new models we have here. First off, at the low end, we've introduced the Firebox T20, and T20-W is the wireless version of that. We position this as supporting up to 5 users. This is a really good option if you want to add good enterprise class security to people who have gone to work from the home office. Previously, we positioned it maybe as executives who worked from home. It was a good level of security to have, but now we're looking at, I just saw recently Google announced that their employees are potentially working from home until the middle of next year. As people are in the home office for the long haul, they should consider adding and beefing up their security by putting in a firewall like one of these from WatchGuard that provides enterprise class security. Like our other products, it supports rapid deploy. You can connect it to WatchGuard Cloud. It's got all the SD-WAN capabilities. There's a Wi-Fi option available. And here's a look at the back view. You can see it's a 5-port model. The firewall throughput without services is over 500 megabits per second, but with full scanning of UTM, all of the services enabled, even on this small 5-user box, we can get up to 150 megabits per second. VPN performance has improved greatly, but a real story here is how much we've improved the performance when HTTPS or the transport layer inspection is enabled. So frankly, on our old T15 box, if you turned on HTTPS inspection, the TLS inspection we recommended in the Q1 report, it really put a big drag on that box. These new boxes are ARM-based processors, system on a chip. It's got built-in crypto in that system on a chip. It does much better on the VPN performance, on the performance with the TLS content inspection included. T40, again, next box up in the lineup. There's also a wireless variant available of this, can support 300 megabits per second of UTM full scan. This one now, compared to the T20, adds in the new intelligent AV and access portal services. So these services that were previously only available on rack mount boxes are now available here. We've got 4 gigs of RAM, so it's fully capable of running these services now. This one has a PoE port. You can see it's marked at the back here. Compared to the T35 product that's available today, this is twice as fast on most of the benchmark. But again, when you look at the HTTPS content inspection, the TLS inspection benchmark, this one is 5 times faster than the model it replaces. And then the biggest of the new models is the T80. Twice the UTM performance that I showed on the T40. We positioned this up to 50 users, so this is probably going beyond the home office right now. This is a great one to use in a small branch office, a small office. Again, it has intelligent AV access portal. Unlike the T40, it has 2 Power over Ethernet ports, not just 1. But what's really new here at the tabletop level for a WatchGuard model is it has this expansion module. Now, the default box you order on the standard SKU doesn't have anything on that, but we have a module available today that includes 1 SFP Plus port. So you can put a 10 gig fiber line into that. Of course, it doesn't support up to 10 gig fiber speeds, but you can put in an SFP Plus port that gives you the flexibility to add a fiber connection. It also gives WatchGuard flexibility down the line to add more services to these appliances or more capabilities. We're looking at maybe multiple SFP ports, but the one we're working on right now is an integrated LTE module or built-in 4G, and when it comes to it, 5G connectivity. So today we support separate USB modems, but with this, you'll be able to plug in a module with the SIM card included, external antennas as an option, a great way to get an additional interface redundancy through a 4G or an LTE connection. That will be included as a module option. Latest updates, it looks like we'll have that new module available sometime before the end of this year. And again, just to recap, here's a table that compares the different models and some of the different features that are available. A couple of things I've highlighted: the intelligent AV, the artificial intelligence-based second scanning engine. It's now available on the T40 and the T80, but not on the T20. Access portal is also available on T40 and T80, but not the T20. The enclosure, if you're familiar with the WatchGuard products today, the T20 and the T40 are very similar to the enclosure that we use on a T35 today, where it has a metal base and then all plastic enclosure around that. It means for the wireless version, the antennas are internal. There's no need for separate screw-in antennas for the wireless option. Whereas the T80 is an all-metal box. There's no Wi-Fi option for the T80, and it has that expansion module. Terms of SKUs, everyone here is in the US, so you'll be ordering the -US SKU. We explicitly state that because we've worked to cut down waste in our appliances where we're not shipping multiple power cords that are no longer available. There is one caveat with these appliances I want to make sure everyone's aware of. The DLP service, the data loss prevention service that we've had in as part of the WatchGuard Total Security Suite is not available on these appliances. We found it was not widely used, and because it was a pretty resource-intensive service, our OEM provider was not providing good support on that. And we really see the way forward for data loss prevention is to do it at the endpoint and to do it with APIs into cloud applications directly. So with the recent Panda acquisition, WatchGuard, we picked up a great endpoint security solution in Panda, but they also have a data security solution that can be used for PCI compliance and credit card detection. So that is the way we'll be going forward in DLP in the future. Now, I want to talk a little more about Access Portal because this is a new service that's now available on the tabletop appliances, which will open it up to a broader audience. Access Portal really provides clientless VPN access into services. And we saw a huge takeoff in the usage of Access Portal worldwide beginning in March this year, as so many offices were moving to remote. Previously, we saw this used maybe by admin users, but now it's being used more widely. So a couple of key things Access Portal can do. It can give you a RDP client just from your browser. No need to have any special kind of client installed on the desktop. Either RDP or SSH into internal servers and systems. One of the things I really like what we've done with Access Portal is it's very well connected and tied in with AuthPoint for multi-factor authentication. It's got a portal page where you can make these small tiles available of applications that people need to access. Before they need to get to that, they authenticate using AuthPoint, using that multi-factor like I showed earlier. And then it provides clientless access into RDP or SSH. You can also make tiles available and point it to internal server applications. You can point it to external cloud applications, and it provides the convenience of a single sign-on session into all of those. So it's kind of a lighter version of what people are getting through things like Okta today. Now, as we saw a lot of widespread usage of Access Portal in March, it turned up a few issues for us. It scaled more in connectivity. So we were able to fix a few things and improve the scalability of the solution. So for example, if you're using RDP sessions, that can take up to 40 megs of memory. We've published some rough guidelines of how many users we think can be supported on these models based on that. And one of the things we've done with these new models too, that really helps with COVID and remote work is Access Portal is now available at the standard support option. It's really a clientless VPN solution, so it fits better where all of our VPN capabilities are available. So all of the mobile VPN I talked about are available with standard support on a WatchGuard appliance, SD-WAN, networking, a lot of great capabilities there before we layer in the extra security services. So that's a change. where Access Portal is available in total security on our rack mounts. It's available with support, basic, and total packages on the new tabletops. And that's also a change we'll make in future on the rack mount appliances, but it's going to take us a few more months to get to that. Okay, we're doing good on time. So to wrap up, a lot of great resources for these appliances. If you go to our website, we launched everything in the first week of June. So there's data sheets, there's some new videos where you can see kind of a full 360 view of this. We have our WatchGuard.com sizing guide that helps you based on number of ports, throughput, expected users, pick the appropriate appliance for your environment. One thing I'll highlight too is we've also kept the T15 around. It's still available on our website. We still see some usage for that for people who want to set that up as just a VPN only appliance in a smaller appliance. It maybe someone working from home just wants to connect VPN to the corporate network. But for people running the security services with basic and total security, we really recommend and encourage they should move to the Firebox T20. And here's an example of one of the web pages for the new products, highlights what's available, data sheet, some of the key performance specs. Another great resource we have available is we put together an ebook on security and continuity planning in the COVID-19 world as people move to new ways of working. And one thing I think we're seeing at WatchGuard is it's not just a temporary thing. People have started working remotely. It's never going to go back to the way it was. So we really need to prepare people to work securely as they work remotely more often. So a lot of great COVID-19 resources available on the WatchGuard website. And I'll also say, I'm pretty sure, I think Mark LaLiberte from our threat analyst team is going to do a webinar in the next month or two for TAG members that dives deeper into the threats and some of the things that have changed in the COVID-19 world. So Mark will dive a lot more technically deeper into some of the hacks and threats we're seeing around the world now. So with that, I think this is a good time to transition, see if there are any questions, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. That was great. A couple questions that popped up in chat. One asks, when will the T15, T35, T70 be phased out? I think you addressed the T15 is sticking around a bit, but can you give just a quick picture of the phase out of those? I believe they're still going to continue to be sold and supported for quite some time, correct?
Yeah, so we typically phase out the appliances and overlap by a 3 to 6 month period. But even when we sell the appliance, so we'll probably announce end of sale within about 2 to 3 months for the T35 and T70. Any end of sale announcement from WatchGuard comes with 2 months notice. And when we sell an appliance, we give up to a 5-year life period. So end of life is 5 years after that end of sale. So.
Got it. Okay. Let's see, Michael from MPA, you want to go over your question about clientless VPN real quick? You're on mute.
I think he's still on mute. I think
There we go.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, guys, couldn't find the button. I had the screen all moved around. I think my question was answered by somebody else on the post. I basically, as far as the clientless VPN goes, it seems on the tabletop device, the use case for that is if you're trying to get inside the home network from outside, which is a fairly low use case, it seems to me. So, but it's interesting the other way as far as protecting the office.
Yeah, so it could be like these tabletops aren't necessarily just for a home network. You could have an office, a small business with 20 people, and they need access from the home into the office and essentially get that whole, the one thing we really want to encourage people is not to open up RDP ports wide to the internet. If you do that, you'll be port scanned within minutes, people looking for that type of stuff. You need a secure solution.
And does that also work with your virtual appliance as well for data center use?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay. Let's see, Rick Harbor, you had a comment here about RDS. Did you have a question in there, or did you have any comment you wanted to make, or is that speak for itself?
No, I just saw the question come in to Brendan about the clientless VPN and access portal, and was offering that up as a solution. The other thing that it's certainly good to mention is that one of the nice things about it is if you have people that have to have access to multiple machines inside the network, WatchGuard's done a really great job on that website. When you log in, you can publish multiple machines out there. Like if you want to get the different servers and such, it makes it really easy. It works really well, especially as I mentioned in that chat. Some of us on the call have got some clients that are, well, let's just say that the users are a little bit challenged with VPN. So this offers a nice little secure workaround.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, I got one last one here from Mark, and then we'll open it up to anybody else that's got questions here. Mark Geyer, do you want to pose your question here?
Sure, Tim. My question, actually I had two questions, but first question was, where does the Intelligent AV come into the product model line and or firmware versions?
So Intelligent AV comes in to these new tabletops right from the launch, which was early June, and they came with the 12.6 firmware installed. On the other rack mount models, we've had it for a couple of years now.
Okay, so then it's not on the 15s, 35s, 70s.
That's right. It won't be available on those. Question of horsepower. We essentially doubled the RAM on these new tabletop models to give it more capability for these.
Understood. The second question is we do a lot of retail, so PCI compliance is important to us, and we really like the DLP feature in the firewalls. Where am I going to lose that? And then of course the next question becomes, if I've got to do it at an endpoint level, I've got to do some planning for when I'm going to lose that.
Yeah, so the DLP feature on the firewall, it's unfortunate we lost that, but it really wasn't working out in the long term going forward. I can get you some information about the new capability we have on with the Panda data security option for planning around that. But
thank you. All right. Well, I'd look forward to that information. That's good because, with our PCI compliance needs, that's going to be important.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, somebody's got to mute everybody here.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks. All right. Brendan, you may need to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
I muted everybody.
I got it.
Okay, question I can probably at least start an answer with. Dean Westcott, you ask, are there any thoughts of offering a migration trade-up program for managed security clients who move their existing 15 or 35 up to a 20 or 40? The answer is yes, absolutely. We've got the tag program is month to month. If you have a user, we always said if they needed to upgrade or downgrade, you can ship the old hardware back to us, and let's say a 35, is not enough anymore, and you needed a 55 for a customer, we're absolutely able to do that. In terms of just this, where we have a unit being phased out, we can definitely talk about that and potentially get you an upgrade to the latest and greatest if there's a need for that. If you've got somebody that's been in a 15 or a 35 for a while, we can certainly arrange it. If it's something where the 35 was just purchased, 3 months ago, we probably want it to be a little longer than that. But essentially the answer is yes, we can get folks out of a 15 or a 35 into one of the newer units. We typically like them to be out for a couple of years at first. So if these are older units that have been out since 2018 or even early 2019 and you want to push them into a newer unit, we can arrange that. I'd say just reach out to me, via email, just tim@tagnational.com, and I can kind of talk through what your scenario is and what your options would be. Okay? All right. Let's see, I think that's it. Is there any other questions? You guys should have the ability to unmute yourself if you have a question for Brendan. All right. Okay, well, we've recorded this session. We will have some slides, and Brendan, if you get me the slide deck, I'd be happy to send out the link to the presentation along with the actual slides and share them with everybody who registered for this webinar. I think that's about it. Any last words, Brendan?
Just thanks everyone for the time. I hope everyone's staying healthy. And I know for managed service providers, it's been a pretty demanding time, but we're here to support you at WatchGuard and let us know how we can help out.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you, Brendan. Really appreciate your time sharing this with us. And thanks again to everybody else for joining us. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.